Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you all how to create the finger controls as well as connect them. So the first thing I'm going to do is I like to show this. Now if this isn't working for you properly in your version of Maya for whatever reason, I've had and seen students where the type doesn't work. So if you go to create and go to type, it should pop up like this. And I'm actually going to delete that really quickly. And save it. I'm going to try that one more time. And let's go ahead and just shift this out of the way. And for whatever reason, it's literally not working properly for me right now at the moment. But I'm just going to do F, and that's going to be for finger. And you can change the font to whatever type you'd like. So if you wanted something a little bit more fancy or something, I'm going to go with this one. I just clicked on it. I think it's cool. I'll go with that one. And then in here, under, this is a little bit different than it used to be. So let's go to geometry, try 0. Oh, here it is. Create curves from type. So create curves from type, excuse me. So we're going to do that. And what that did is it created basically a controller for us for that letter. Oh, I didn't realize there's all these holes and stuff in it, which is totally fine. Now one quick thing is when you click on this letter, because we're going to delete the old one, tap up on the keyboard and just make sure you tap up on the keyboard as much as you can until basically it's pre-grouped and you want to just delete that entire group. Typically it usually is. Now I'm going to go ahead and I don't need, even though they look fancy, it's not going to work well with them. So I'm going to just delete these. So I just have this letter F. That's all I need, right? And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do modify and center pivot for now. And I'm going to scale this down. And I'm just going to go to my top view really quickly. And I'm going to place it right over the fingers. Basically right in between them, I guess. That'll work, right? So now that I've got that said and done, I'm going to turn my mesh on also really quickly just to make sure I'm not accidentally intersecting with anything on it. And I'm even going to bring it up a little bit more because these fingers can technically, they can bend backwards too. So just an FYI. Alright. So now with that being done, I'm going to put this as L finger CTRL. You could put it as plural. I'm just going to leave it as is, or whatever. L fingers CTRL, right? And then I'm going to modify and freeze transformations, right? And now I can, the best way to do this one is I'm going to set the center point holding D and X, and I'm going to set my pivot point to snap to the grid in the center, and then I'm going to duplicate it and scale at -1. And I know it's a backwards F, but I kind of like the way it is because there are times you'll be animating from this side, so on and so forth, and it does kind of distinguish left from right. So anyway, that's going to be the R fingers control. Alright. And now the fun part. So on here we are going to create a ton of controllers. So, or extra attributes, if you will. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to modify and I'm going to go to add attribute, and you'll get this little pop-up that comes up. And the first one I'm going to do is just finger controls. And actually, while I'm at it, long name you can actually type in. It's known as camelback scripting. So you start out with a lowercase, and the point of this is so it kind of rides in a like a hump. You'll see like camels. So if I type in finger all or yeah fingers finger and then capital C controls, and if I had another word like hand, for instance, it'll know where to space it. So let me just show you real quick. And this one I'm just going to make displayable, and minimum and maximum I'll set to 0 on both of these. So this is going to be the long name, and I'm going to go ahead, and you'll see it actually gives you the display right here for the nice name. So this is actually the proper scripting, but just so you're aware. Okay, it is something that is useful to know, and depending on what software you're using, it may have different type, but in Maya, this is how they do it in Autodesk Maya. And then I'm going to just go ahead and keep it all as is, and I'm just going to, on this one, displayable, minimum, maximum, 0, 0, and then I'm going to click add. There it is. So now I've got my finger controls right there, and it doesn't do anything, it's just a label. It's just a display name. So everything underneath this is going to be the finger controls. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with index, and actually instead of even doing that finger controls thing, I'm going to just go into index finger, and this one displayable, because I already know they're all going to be the finger controls. So the first one's going to be index, and then I'm going to type in index 1. Let me think. How do I want to display this? Okay, so index finger is good, and then in fact, sorry about that, we're going to change it to L index. That's fine. So this way I know it's the, sorry about that, very, very sorry. So this way I know it's the left hand index finger. So just an FYI, and that's a lowercase l and index, and you'll see it comes up like this. Add. The next one I'm going to do is it's just going to be L index 1 and maybe 1. Okay, and let me just see how it reacts to numeric. Alright, perfect. L index 1, and this will just be keyable. So this is the first one we're going to have keyable, and we're not going to put a maximum or minimum or maximum on this, and we're just going to click add. Because we don't actually know what the minimum and maximum will be yet. L index 2, add. L index 3, add. And then we're going to do L index spread, add. And finally, okay, we'll move on to the next one. Alright, so next one is going to be L middle. This one will be displayable, minimum 0, maximum 0, add. There we go. And then we'll do L middle 1. And basically, copy, add, paste, change it to 2, add, change it to 3, add, and change this to spread, add. And then we'll do the same thing, L ring displayable 0, 0, add. Okay, and then we're going to do L ring 1, copy, add, paste, 2, add, 3, add, and spread, add. Now we'll do the same thing. This will be L pinky displayable 0 and 0 and add. And then we'll do L pinky 1. Just copy that, add, 2, add, 3, add, and 4 is spread, add. Alright. And last but not least, we have the thumb. And the thumb is actually a little bit tricky because it has a lot more stuff going on with it. So we're going to do L thumb displayable 0, 0, add. And then we're going to go through and do L thumb spread, add, L thumb up, down, add, L thumb twist, add, and then let me make sure over here I have these labeled right. 2 and 3. Okay. And then we're going to do L thumb 2, add, and L thumb 3, add. Okay, so I'll close that just for now. So basically what you'll need for this, and this is actually really great practice to get used to, is creating all these controllers will you'll get into a really good habit of, and probably more than likely understand this much more, getting this type of practice in. And then after that, we're going to connect all these controllers. So since I've already done the left hand, we're going to go ahead and start to connect them on the left hand. One of the other things I like to do is I actually don't like parenting my finger controller to the wrist controller. I prefer to connect it here at the wrist joint. So I'm going to tap P and just make sure that nothing weird happens with that. Oh, seems to be working fine. And you can see why I do that. It follows it around, but also there's something called like an FK-IK switch, and in which case if we get to covering this, I'll explain what it is. But I'll definitely show you what the IK is on the lower half of the body. But some rigs have an IK-FK switch in the upper body, and then it'll actually switch to a different controller, and which is why you can't typically parent that type of controller to like the wrist controller or whatever. So anyway, don't worry about it, just parent it to the wrist joint. That's all you got to do. Anyway, now with that being said, what I'll do from here is at this point you're not going to be able to freeze transformations on this. I mean, even if you do, it just kind of messes. It's kind of weird because we already did freeze transformations, but once you parent it to the joint here, it uh, it takes on the attributes of that joint. So it's you can freeze transformations again to make it look nice. So I would recommend doing it. But for the most part, we're not going to have any of these controllers here uh, visible because they're not going to actually do anything. We'll take care of that later. So now we need to connect these. And how are we going to do that? So we're going to go to Windows, and then we're going to go to General Editor, and we're going to go to the Connection Editor. Now the Connection Editor is going to pop up like something like this. So for the finger controller, we're going to hit Reload Left, and then this is kind of known as the driver, if you will. And then on this side, on the right side, we're going to select the joints that we need. So on the left finger control, we're going to scrub all the way down. And we already know L index doesn't do anything, it's just displayable. So on L index 1, we're going to go to L index 1. And the names should line up just like so. And then we're going to go reload right. So we're going to have L index 1 joint on this side, and then the L finger control on this side. And scrub down, and then on this side, on the right side under the L index 1 joint, we are going to go down to rotate. And we are going to double check so it rotates on Z. So L index 1 is going to control the rotate Z on L index 1. And just to show you, L index 1, and I just select on L index 1 here, and then I'm going to middle mouse button click, and just show you, it's controlling the bend on that. So we're going to go to L index 2, but don't forget, you need to reload right on L index 2 joint. And then we're going to go to rotate, and we already know it's rotate Z. And I'm going to do the same thing on 3, reload right, rotate Z, and then the spread is going to be L index 1, and it's going to be Y. Yep, rotate Y. So just to show you really quickly what we just did the index finger. So L index spread. Ooh, I need to break that connection, so I'm going to deselect that if you notice. So I had it selected here and it was controlling the wrong joint. You see that? So I'm going to deselect it here and I'm going to reload right. I forgot to hit reload right on this one. I'm going to go rotate and rotate Y. Rotate Y on L index 1 joint. And now let's double check that again. So L index 1 working there, L index spread going that way. Okay, and you can actually check all of these simultaneously. You can do 1, 2, and 3, and you'll see that you get this nice curvature bend. It really works nicely, especially for animation purposes. So working really, really well. And then this is the spread in case you wanted to spread your fingers or whatever. All right, and then we'll go to the next one. And L middle 1, reload right, rotate Z. Go to the next one, reload right, L middle 2, rotate Z. Reload right, L middle 3, rotate Z. L middle spread, reload right, rotate Y. And now let's check that one. L middle 1, 2, 3. They're all bending properly, and spread also working properly. So let's go to the next one. Reload right, L ring 1, rotate Z. I can also do the spread simultaneously on Y, and then I can switch to my next one if I want to start saving myself a little bit of time. L ring 2, rotate Z. Reload right, rotate on 3 Z. And now I just saved myself a little bit of time. If I did it properly, seems to be working fine. Seems to be working good. All right, we're going to go to the next one. All right, Now, pinky, reload right. Okay, rotate, and this one is going to be Z, and the spread will be Y. Now I'm going to go back to reload right, rotate, Z, reload right, rotate, Z. Okay, so now I've just connected all of the controllers. Perfect. And then I would just recommend going through it. Like I said, it's always easier to kind of catch your mistakes as you're working versus later on. And if you might, if you're not 100% used to it, just make sure you rotate and make sure you're seeing that it's bending properly. Perfect. So that's working 110% properly. Perfect. So now that I've got that side done, I'm going to skip over and do the next side. And this, I'm actually, before I even finish out this part, I'm going to do first a modify center pivot. And I'm actually going to snap this to the wrist because that's where it is parented to. The wrist joint, because I have it parented to the wrist joint. Okay. Just to double check. Yep, perfect. And it kind of just stays out of the way as I'm working later on. Alright. So, now, same thing over here. Make sure you do a modify freeze transformations, and you can even just parent it right away if you'd like. Parent. It's going to take on all that information. So modify freeze transformations again. And now you can even do the center pivot and just snap it to the wrist joint. Perfect. And now, with that being said, I'm going to reload left. Oh, and I almost forgot the thumb. Reload right. Reload left, excuse me. So I'm going to go back to this side. I forgot I didn't do the thumb yet. Reload right. And now, go all the way down. And this is sort of, how do I say it? How you have the, so this is going to be a rotate Y. So this is really kind of up to you. So for thumb up down, reload right, I would do this one. And because I have mine on a subtle angle, I'm getting really, really not fun numbers. So I'm not going to go Y. I'm going to do Z. Okay, so thumb up down on rotate, and make sure it's on reload right. I'm going to do rotate Z on the first one. And it just did a weird thing. Okay. So reload right. And if yours is acting like this, you're we'll have to fix it here momentarily. So thumb up down, rotate. In this case, I'm going to have to do Z. And it's basically just defaulting it to 0. Let's see if this is at. The good news about this is that you can actually go back. I'll show you momentarily here. And we can place it back in and freeze transformations again. Alright. So then the twist, we're going to do rotate X. And then the spread will be rotate Y. Now thumb 2, we're going to reload right. Thumb 2, this is going to be rotate Y. And thumb 3, reload right, will be rotate Y. Okay, now I did run into a subtle issue here, and what I'm going to do is try to just finagle this back into place. And by that, I mean, let's go down to the thumb. I think it was up, down. And I think that's pretty good. That should do it. Yeah. And now I want to see if this will let me do it. And it won't. Modify. Freeze transformations. Okay. So, since it won't, you can leave it like that. If something like that does happen to you, just leave it at the 8.4 or whatever, whoops, whatever number you have it at. However, if you do want to fix it, let's set it to 0. Now, how do I fix it, right? Let's go to the face mode. Let's grab all of the, let's go 5. And actually, while you're doing this, no matter what, you're going to accidentally be selecting joints because it always selects joints first. So you might have to sort of do it this way instead of running a click and drag. And what I'm going to do here is basically, I'm going to press B for my soft select, just increase the size a little bit, and then I'm going to just try to, oop, somewhere in there I accidentally selected the joints. So let's do that one more time. Okay, turn B on, increase the size just a smidget, and then I'll do this one more time. And I'm just going to match this. Oh. And before I do that, I have to turn on symmetry. And I'm just going to do this right away. While I'm working on it. That's where I accidentally grabbed it from. Because I feel like this type of information is super useful, especially later if you're like, wait, what happened in here? This could be an excellent way to go about fixing any future issue you might run into. I think that'll work. Yeah. So I just need to make sure it's in there. The joints are actually in there pretty well. Ooh. I'd say that's actually really good. I'm going to go with that. Okay. And now, just to check it, let me turn 6 on my keyboard and shading and wireframe on shaded off for a second. And let's switch the renderer so I can see. And let's just make sure that this is working properly now. So that'll work. Up, down. That'll work. Thumb twist. That'll work. And then 2 and 3. Yeah, perfect. So it's all working properly now. And I did have to make a subtle adjustment, but it is for the better. Alright. Now, we'll come back over here, and I'm not going to have to mess with anything on this, hopefully, in theory, at least on this side, because I already did it to the other side as far as the mesh goes. And what I'm going to do on this side now is the same exact thing, and this thumb should snap directly into that location. So I'm going to select the finger, and I'm going to go to my Windows General Editor, Connection Editor, and over here I'm going to start to connect all of these joints. So I'm going to start with the thumb first. I'm going to do reload right and reload left. And I'm sorry, I still have to rename all of these. I don't believe if I duplicate this, yeah, and let's just make sure that didn't break anything. Okay, so you could try to duplicate it, but then you have to go in and do modify edit attribute for every single one. So I mean, that's just a I guess it's a matter of preference, but for this I'm gonna just add them in by hand. So I'm gonna do modify add attribute for the other side. This is going to be R index displayable 0 and 0 and add, and then I'm going to do R index 1 add 2 add 3 add and spread add. Then I'm going to do R middle displayable, this is going to be 0 and 0 and add, and then that's going to be R middle 1 add 2 add 3 add and spread add. Then we're going to do our ring displayable 0 and 0 add, and then we're going to do R ring 1 add R ring 2 add R ring 3 add and R ring spread add. Then we're going to do pinky displayable 0 and 0 add and now we're going to do R pinky 1 add 2 add 3 add spread add, and then we're going to do R thumb 1 our thumb, excuse me, displayable, this will be 0 and 0 add, and then I just want to take a quick look at the other one. Would I have it spread, set that to 0 just to make sure I got that right. Okay, so it's spread up down twist 2 3 spread up down twist 2 3. So R thumb spread add R thumb up down add spread up down twist R thumb twist add, and then R thumb 2 add and 3 add. And now the same exact thing, I'm going to go into this connection editor, Windows General Editor, Connection Editor, and here scroll all the way down and just reload left just in case, and we'll go thumb reload right, and I think this one was our thumb Spread. Let's start with up, down. I think I had this one as Z. Right. Reload right. Okay. Where's my rotate? Rotate. I think this one's Z. Yeah, that looks right. Snapped right into place. Spread I think is Y. Twist is probably X. Spread is Y, I believe. Twist is X. And then just double check that. Okay, spread, up, down, twist, and then our thumb 2, reload right, rotate, and this one is rotate Y, and reload right, and this one is rotate Y. Now let's just take a look. Spread, up, down, twist, thumb 2, thumb 3. Perfect. And you can see it's inside the mesh because I just adjusted it, but and everything's zeroed out. But as I'd shown you, if that becomes a little bit too difficult and for whatever reason you run into some kind of error like that, you can leave it at the 8.4. I'm not gonna, mark you down for that, something very minor like that. But try your best to have them all zeroed out in the finger controls, because I know that's a lot to take in, but it is really good to know. So anyway, other than that, that is everything as far as creating the finger control. And let me make sure I got this one all done. Yep. That's everything on creating the finger control and connecting the finger controls. So you can, let's just say you wanted to do like a quick closed fist, right? Oh, did I not do all these yet? Great. So let's start back at the top. Make sure I did this right. Reload right. I was thinking of the left hand. And our index 1 is rotate Z. Let's just make sure. Yeah. Okay. And our index spread is rotate Y. Now we'll go to here. Our index, reload right. Rotate Z. Reload right. Rotate Z. And I'm just going to run through this as quickly as I can. Reload right. Rotate. Uh-oh. I already caught myself trying to move a little too quickly. So our index 2, let's do reload right. And we'll do rotate Z. Reload right. Our index 3, rotate Z. And I guess I'm going to definitely have to double check that one. Okay, and check each one individually. Perfect. Alright. Reload right. Rotate. This is going to be our middle 1. Rotate Z. And our middle spread. Rotate Y. And now reload right. Rotate Z. Z. Reload right. Rotate Z. And again, reload right. We're going to the ring now. Rotate Z. Spread. Rotate Y. Reload right. Rotate Z. And reload right. Rotate Z. Okay. Now I'm going to double check these. Okay. Alright, and now I have the pinky to do. Reload right, rotate Z, pinky spread, rotate Y. Switch to the next one, reload right, pinky 2, rotate Z, reload right, pinky 3, rotate Z. Alright, and now I'll double check that one. Perfect. Alright, so now I've got all of my finger controls taken care of. And I'm just going to highlight here, and I'm going to go to my index here, our index, and I'm just going to hold control and just select the ones I want. So let's just pretend I wanted to do something like a quick fist, right? I'll start with those 1, 2, 3, 4, perfect. And I'll just go ahead, and I'm just middle mouse button clicking in here, and then I can just kind of close those in, and you'll see I get like a quick fist, and then I can open them up too. So anyway, now I've completed both the hands, the left hand and the right hand, and it takes it's tedious, but it's not too hard because you just have to make sure you're clicking on the right one at the right time. That's about it. But it is a really great way to animate. There are rigs out there with the controllers. They're super tiny. They sit right on the finger, right, and you can barely grab them, and there's a good chance you're accidentally grabbing something else in the scene at least. So by grabbing right here, it makes it super easy to control any finger control. That's my personal opinion. But anyway, if you do have any questions, shoot me a message. Just take your time with it, and just make sure you're connecting the controllers the right way. And then by the end of this, we're going to have a fully rigged functional character, and it'll be super cool to see him animate. Anyway, other than that, don't have any thing else to cover in this particular lab at least. So again, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it useful, and thank you for watching. And again, shoot me a message if you have any questions.